just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
You just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of the Shots Fired podcast with DP. I am Despot, birth name Jay Simino, and today is April 2026, and we made it to another fuck around Friday. But before we get into these shenanigans, I can't let yesterday's big news go to waste. The in-the-closet former Capitol Police officer, now working security for the CIA, failed a polygraph test. I'll say it again. She failed a fucking polygraph test when asked about her involvement in the J5th pipe bombs. This is epic news, folks. Now, I know some of you douchebag naysayers out there are like, polygraphs are not admissible in court. Show you're right. But they are required for her position in the federal government, and failing one means your employment is terminated, not rewarded with a fucking promotion. And while people pick on Dan Bongina and Director Molaram apart for their handling of this, I see it as something much larger and more nefarious. Federal sentencing enhancement. What are those? They're essentially an allowable, though I feel unconstitutional, scam the feds are allowed to use to enhance the sentences of suspects. I'll give you an example. Let's say a 75-year-old overweight female enters the Capitol building on, let's say, January 6, 2021. Misdemeanor trespassing, right? Typically no jail time and a small fine. So, how does she spend over 2 years in prison, most of that in solitary confinement? Because at her sentencing, they tack on other offenses committed that day. Everyone involved pays the same price. I even heard from a reliable source that there was a carjacking that day, several blocks from the Capitol and several hours after the disturbance was over. That carjacking was folded into people's sentences from their cases originating from that day. Sounds retarded, right? I agree. So, take the pipe bombs placed on J5th. Imagine you're this elderly female and you decide to plead guilty to this very minor offense, only to find out you're being sentenced as if you placed the pipe bombs yourself. Now, imagine finding out today that it was an inside job. Imagine finding out that the feds knew minute one who placed those bombs. Inert, by the way. Fact. Imagine finding out that Jocelyn Ballantine knew, that everyone at DOJ and the FBI knew who did it and knew that it wasn't related to any of the J6 protesters. Imagine the prison sentences those persecutors would have to face now. Imagine the multi-billion-dollar payouts the feds would have to dole out in punitive damages. They fucking knew it. Well, Despop, we're in control of the DOJ now. Are we? Pam Bondi was fired yesterday. Who replaced her? The douchebag from the video I led off with. Folks, in every federal agency, the top dog is just a figurehead. They're a face for press conferences and congressional hearings. The number two is the devil. Always. The number two is the most powerful position. James Comey and Christopher Wray, they weren't the problem. It was Andy McCabe. Dan Bongina had so much power, and what did he do with it? Nothing besides protect pedophiles, protect the swamp. The swamp will always protect the swamp. Bill Barr's been hanging around D.C. for how many fucking decades? His dad predating him, hired by one administration, fired by another, lands a gig with media until he's hired by the next administration. Lather, rinse, repeat. They will always protect the swamp lest they be ostracized by it. How do they do it? The statute of limitations. All of MAGA demanded James Comey pay a heavy toll. What did Bondi's DOJ do? They indicted him on the eve of his statute of limitations running out. He then went out on a press tour. Did he once seem nervous? Nope. He knew it was bullshit. He knew it would get tossed. And what did Bondi's, or really Trump's DOJ do quietly shortly after the indictment was tossed? They announced that they can't re-indict because, guess what? The statute of limitations has now run out. And that is what is happening here. They charged Brian Cole just a few months left before his statute of limitations ran out, knowing it would tie up the courts. And alas, Shawnee Kirkhoff can now not be charged no matter what. So, after the Brian Cole case falls apart, it's gone forever. Even if we found out that the feds absolutely knew it was her from day one, Jocelyn Ballantine and all those involved in the J6 sentencing enhancements will be beyond reach of criminal charges. They're running out the fucking clock right before our eyes. This isn't just about exonerating our boy Radio to me. This is much bigger. This is our government, by the people, for the people, blah, blah, fucking blah, telling us we don't matter, that we serve them and not the other way around. They needed J6 to be the worst event in American history. Like, how many times did Kamala compare it to Pearl Harbor? They needed to hammer every protester in an attempt to wrap it up with a bow and tie it around Trump's neck. Well, he won anyway. Now it's about self-preservation for the swamp. Bondi knows the truth. Blanche certainly knows the truth. Dan Bongina might be too gay to know the truth. And now we know the truth. She failed the fucking polygraph. And how is Steve Baker repaid? He's fired by the Blaze for uncovering the truth. So, fuck the Blaze. They are the fucking enemy now. End of rant. Now, on to some fucking around Friday shenanigans with the new segment titled The Fuck?
Come on, Sarah!
Yeah, you know what? I think I've come to the conclusion in today's time that I'm probably gonna go to hell. You know, and listen, I'm not. It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Kevin chimes in with the cold lunch. The simple sexual act of forcing yourself to throw up into another person's mouth, usually in the result of the other person eating it. Example, I felt sick from all the burritos I ate for lunch, so I just gave Kimberly a Mexican cold lunch to help me bust a nut real quick. My Lord. Stargaze with the Helsinki hand job. The Helsinki hand job is obtained by being masturbated in a sauna and then ejaculating on the heating rocks, effectively forcing the masturbator to inhale your semen vapor. Example, Bob received a Helsinki hand job last night. Martha now has much clearer airways. And Kevin returns with the hot Richard, when a man and a woman are spooning and the woman farts on the man's dick, making it feel warm and cozy. That's actually a rookie move to me, man. If you haven't had a chick shit on you during anal, you haven't done nothing. Anyway, now it's time for We Was Kangs.
I had the mag in the gun with bullets in it, and then I racked the gun. All right, like it's racked right now. And then I did that. And then it got caught like that. So I take the bullet out. And then I guess I didn't get the bullet out. So when I test Indeed in my shit, bro. I just fucking Indeed in my fucking apartment.
You want me to call the police for you? Or you want me to try and grab my hand? How you get down there? You want to try and grab my hand?
There was a narrow path.
A narrow path?
No, like a open path.
Give me your hand.
Yeah.
Is working?
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's $200.
And after Kings, we rightfully target white people.
This is going to energize you for the whole day. For men, sun on your testicles or naked sun is good for testosterone boosting. You don't need a lot, 30 seconds to 5 minutes maximum. You don't need sunscreen. And this is another one of my practices. I don't always talk about it, but it's well known that your sphincter or your butthole is one of the most sensitive or thin mucous membranes in the body. 30 seconds of sun on the butthole is like 8 hours of sun outside.
Now switching back to something more serious, it's time for the final call. On this date, April 3rd, back in 2017, Lieutenant Mark Lamont Meacham of Green River PD, Wyoming, succumbed to gunshot wounds sustained on October 14th in 1996 when he and another officer attempted to question a man about a murder. The officers were led into the house before the suspect opened fire on them, striking Lieutenant Meacham in the neck and the other officer in the arm. Despite his wounds, the other officer was able to return fire and wounded the man. The man barricaded himself in the attic until being taken into custody by a SWAT team. The suspect was convicted of first-degree murder from the initial murder investigation and attempted murder of Lieutenant Meacham and another officer. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. Lieutenant Meacham never fully recovered and died from complications of the gunshot wound on April 3rd in 2017. Lieutenant Meacham had served in law enforcement for 33 years before medically retiring in 2003. He is survived by his wife, daughter, son, 2 grandchildren, 2 sisters, and 2 brothers. Also on this date, in 1953, Patrolman John Pendergrass of the NYPD was shot and killed on West 140th Street near 5th Avenue in Harlem while chasing a suspect wanted for robbing a liquor store. Patrolman Pendergrass was able to return fire and wound the suspect in the arm. Suspect was taken into custody the next day and charged with murder. He was later convicted of Patrolman Pendergrass's murder and executed on July 15, 1954. Patrolman Pendergrass was posthumously awarded the New York City Police Department's Medal of Honor. Patrolman Pendergrass served with the NYPD for 24 years and was assigned to the West 135th Street Station, 32nd Precinct. He was survived by his mother and sister. May they both continue to rest in peace. And don't forget to check out the dpdoesswag.myshopify.com link in my X bio and grab a Final Call mug or shirt. Any help padding my measly law enforcement pension is greatly appreciated. They make cool gifts for the cops in your family. And we'll end as we always do with the timeline cleanse. But before we get into that, to all those struggling with that demon, remember to stop, breathe, survive. Later, bitches.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Get him, Jay. I'm not a cop.
You got DP'd.